Good evening, happy Friday, and welcome to another edition of RebelWatch. I'm Carson Waire, with me Tyler Komis, a NewsWatch sports reporter, Campbell Holmes, the NewsWatch sports anchor. Thank you so much for making us a part of your weekend. We're excited to be in here again. Going to talk about a couple things Ole Miss related, going to take things away from that, talk about the NFL quarterback situation at the end of the show, but Ole Miss related, we're talking about softball, covering the baseball team, and of course, women's basketball team suffered a very tough loss, but still a magical season from them guys. A really, really fun run, and we'll have a recap of that, give out some season awards, whole lot of stuff like that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Start things off on the diamond with the softball team. You know, bit of a tough go of things in conference so far, but overall some positives to look at from the season and some things that have improved Campbell, especially the team's hitting, right? A lot of stuff going right now on the offensive end.
No, yeah, Carson, you're totally right. Hitting wasn't that good at the beginning of the season. We got our first loss against Oregon. They out-hit us 7-12. So, you know, obviously when you're not hitting well, you're, hate to say it, not going to win. We also got our second loss against Oklahoma State. We had 4 hits. They had 7. We start to see a little bit of improvement in the season. We start getting some wins. We even got a 4-game winning streak in the middle of the season. And we even just played the Tigers on Tuesday. We out-hit them 7-3. So I really do think that if the softball team continues to keep hitting, we're going to continue to keep winning.
Definitely, and as you mentioned, Campbell, a good win over Memphis in the team's last game. Memphis is a team that's struggled a bit in recent years, and that's the case again this year. Those are the kind of games that you need, especially those midweeks. They can really get you a momentum boost, get you a nice jolt going into the weekend when you play these tougher SEC opponents. Tyler, one thing against these SEC opponents that you need is pitching, and that's something that's kind of lacked so far this year.
Absolutely. I mean, not just a little bit off here, but not just softball, but baseball as well. The pitching could be better. They started the season 6-2, so the hitting was there earlier, and they kind of faltered down the stretch this month, 11-9 in the month of March. But as Campbell said, just coming off a win against Memphis, 6-0, and they'll have to keep that going this weekend against Auburn in a 3-game series, number 19 team in the nation. That's not going to be a cakewalk by any stretch, and this team has made the tournament in the past in this last 7 to 8 straight years. They're really going to have to pick it up if they want to do that again. It's not going to be a gimme this year, especially with a 1-5 SEC start.
Definitely, yeah. Tough start to the in-conference play. Campbell, we talk about it all the time, just such a grind, right, the SEC. These weekends are really, really tough, aren't they?
No, exactly. And like we saw, I mean, we did get Tennessee swept us. They're number 3, and we did get a series loss against LSU. We did get the first game, though, and that was pretty big for the Rebels just because it was their SEC home opener, so that was really exciting. But I really do believe that they're going to get a series win over Auburn this weekend. I'm really hopeful, but like I said, the conference play has been pretty tough this season. Definitely.
Yeah, a nice win on the SEC season opener. The softball team plays very, very well in SEC season openers. They've got a nice winning streak going back something like 10 years. They've won their SEC home opener. Tyler, how about a little bit of a look ahead for the softball team? Who's coming up? And, maybe we get some momentum going, like Campbell said. Maybe we win a nice series against Auburn and get the train rolling a little bit.
So we just got off Memphis on Tuesday. And like Carson said, the midweek matchups could, they provide their challenges. I mean, you have only a certain amount of days to get ready for the next game. They got Auburn and then Memphis again coming up. So 4 big games that they really need to win.
Definitely. Softball team, a whole lot of time left in this year for them to grab some momentum and get things rolling. We'll be right back after a short break. We're going to keep things on the dime and talk about the baseball team who's been having some struggles recently. That is up next on RebelWatch.
Time of the year again, fellas. When the mornings are hot, the afternoons are hotter, and football is on its way back. Now, games is won by the battles fought in August. Everyone that's not revered as an Ole Miss legend has been in your shoes before, trying to survive that Mississippi heat, competing for a spot, and knowing the sacrifice that it takes to make it in this league. You go into this money collection of men from 100 different places, and if you work, you emerge from it as one team with one goal and one heartbeat. The SEC awaits you. And if they don't know who you are now, they will soon.
Where are we gonna go?
Someplace warm. A place where the beer flows like wine. Where beautiful women instinctively flock like the salmon of Capistrano. I'm talking about a little place called
Oxford, Mississippi.
To see it is to believe it. You hear about it, but you just have to see the party.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Grove. The sound and fury are here. Did he got a toe down?
Pageantry, the pride, the pomp is unmatched and unrivaled.
This stadium has come unhinged.
This is what college football is all about.
Oh, as he gets walloped.
No coach is having more fun than Andrew.
This is the place to be in college football right now.
Welcome back to Rebel Watch. I'm Carson Waire, with me Tyler Komis and Campbell Holmes. Thank you so much for tuning in. So we just heard us talk a little bit about the softball team, what's going on with them. Similar situation with some tough losses, except, probably a little worse for the baseball team. They're on a bit of a skid. Tyler, what's going wrong right now? This team has a ton of talent, a lot of transfers that have been making noise so far, but it's been a little bit of a tough time for them to put it all together recently, hasn't it?
It really has. And at the beginning of the season, the team noted that the championship's behind them and they're ready to meet expectations or even exceed them this year. And I think a big struggle has been consistent pitching. I mean, we all know that once Hunter Elliott went down with his concerning injury that might keep him out for a bit longer. But right now, Rebels are 0-6 in SEC play. I don't know if anyone really saw that coming. And like I said, I just think pitching's a big, big part of that. And they even had to change their starting lineup this upcoming weekend against Arkansas. They have on Friday Jack Daugherty starting, and then Saturday Xavier Rivera's, and then followed by JT Quinn, who takes over for the freshman Grayson Saunier.
Yeah, and a reshuffling of the deck for sure, and that's kind of concerning at this point in the season, guys, because you're at the point now where the beginning of the season jitters are kind of over, and you're supposed to have your A lineup out there and your consistent lineup, and that's something we do not have right now. But one thing the team's been doing well, Campbell, is hitting the ball. Had some guys hitting the ball very well. Talk a little bit about that.
No, exactly. And like we said, a rough start, not a hot start, but the hitting percentages are definitely hot right now. We have players like Calvin Harris, Ethan Groff, Jacob Gonzalez. They're all doing really good hitting the ball and getting those percentages. I mean, Calvin Harris has 36 on the season. I think they're doing really well right now, and I think the team is relying on them to get some wins.
Yeah, definitely, because the pitching is something that, you've got some live arms in there. Doherty, a guy who, hey, he's, that kind of pitcher where here's my stuff, here's 95 down the pipe, and let's see if you can hit it. Some guys with some live arms, but especially in the bullpen, as we've seen, definitely some struggles coming into games. Morel seems to be very overused at this point in the season, which is concerning for how early it is. He's the only guy that's really shown that he can come out of the bullpen and eat some innings for us, and they've had to rely on him quite a bit. Tyler, as we go forward into this, this is really when things start to get real in terms of the SEC play. A look ahead to the next couple of weeks. What can we expect?
So I actually misspoke. They don't play Arkansas this weekend. They play Texas A&M, another really good SEC team. And then that's followed up with another trip to Memphis, and then Arkansas series, and Memphis again at home.
Yeah, definitely some tough opponents. But Campbell, one person we can expect to possibly come back soon, Hunter Elliott, right?
Yes, and that's going to be really exciting for the Rebels. I think that, honestly, with him being hurt with the sprained UCL, I think that the Rebels have been struggling. And like you said, Jack Doherty coming in for him starting, I think he's good, and I think that he's a good junior on the team, but I don't think he was expecting to play this early in the season. He had some starting positions in the postseason last year, but I do think he has been struggling, and again, we've been relying on hitters too much. So I'm very excited to see him come back.
Definitely, and Doherty, a guy that was a bullpen guy last year, so you're really asking quite a bit of him when you're asking him to start games. That's something that Coach Bianco probably didn't have in the plans to start the year, and then Elliott goes down. You have to sort of reshuffle the deck. But it'll be great to get your Friday guy back. That'll help you out because, winning the first game in these series, in these SEC series, that can be a huge momentum boost for you to take it through the rest of the weekend. That's all the talk we have about baseball. We're going to take a short break. Be right back with a recap of the women's basketball team's fantastic season. That's up next on Rebel Watch.
Ole Miss, 18th NCAA tournament appearance.
This is fun, folks.
As Baker's peeling it, little heat check.
Snow Collins for three. Bring it up.
Said, I love Madison Scott.
Ole Miss Rebels are having a lot of fun, and you can see why.
My passion is journalism. Here at the University of Mississippi, we produce a nightly half-hour newscast, broadcasting regionally on cable and globally on the World Wide Web. It's the kind of experience that is preparing me to walk into any news station in the country with the skills and abilities I need to succeed. So it's not just preparing me for the real world, it is the real world.
Do you love sports? Then you should know about STEM. Because maximizing nutrition, analyzing peak muscle performance, calculating the perfect shot, and more are all made possible by science, technology, engineering, and math. In fact, there are more careers than ever in sports science. So if you have a passion for sports, then think about getting involved in STEM and improve everyone's game on and off the field. Get inspired at SheCanSTEM.com.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding. Why did the girl ask the mushroom to dance? Because he was a fun guy. What do you call a pig that knows karate? Pork chop. So how does a tissue dance? Put a little boogie on it.
Legacy isn't just about where you're from, it's about where you're going. So where are you going?
I'm going to be the first in my family to graduate.
I'm going to make a difference.
Just like my granddad.
I'm going to make the bestseller list.
And I'm going to help him get there.
I'm going to win a championship.
Again! I'm going to lock the vault! Hotty toddy!
I'm going to take the next step.
I'm going to bring them to their feet.
I'm going to Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. Build your legacy.
And welcome back to Rebel Watch. I'm Carson Waire, with me Tyler Komis and Campbell Holmes. Well, what a season it was for the Ole Miss women's basketball team. A magical run through the tournament, a great regular season. Look, you take South Carolina to overtime in the regular season, and then you go at Stanford, the 1 seed, and knock them off in the tournament. Some great wins, whole lot of fun along the way. Campbell, just, a great season, wasn't it? Just how about a little wrap up from you on what a magical season it was?
No, exactly, Carson. It definitely was magical. 25-9 overall record, 11-5 in SEC play. You don't usually see this sometimes with the Rebels, especially women's basketball, and I just loved all the attention they got from fans and, just viewers of every game. They had 68 points per game, a little bit of an average, and 42 rebounds per game. And so that just shows how good offensively and defensively this team was. And I honestly, my favorite part of it all was the connection between Coach Yo and her team, her players. She did such a great job this year, I think, and I really think she brought in the connection that these Lady Rebels needed. So, Tyler, what did you think about Coach Yo?
I thought, man, she really revived the program, first of all, and second of all, you kind of hit it, all the attention. It's never really been there from I guess, Ole Miss fans, and now it's even more than that. Even the national attention. It was great to see her all over SportsCenter. $1 and a dream quote. You guys all know it by now. And the last thing she said at her press conference was she was going to attack the portal pretty hard. And Wednesday, they got the news rather that UNC transfer guard Kennedy Todd Williams has committed to Ole Miss, and she was one of the biggest players available in the portal. So it's, next season's already started for Coach Yo and her Rebels.
Definitely. And Coach Yo is someone that you can just tell she has so much fun out there. She enjoys it so much, and she's always smiling, laughing, and you're so super, super excited for her players, wants to see them do well. It's definitely great to see us getting involved in the transfer portal already. That's something that excites us a whole lot. As basketball at Ole Miss is something that doesn't really get a ton of attention all the time. We're a big baseball, football school, but the campus really, really came together, especially towards the end of March Madness after knocking off Stanford for the women's basketball team, and it was really, really cool to see all the support for them. So, Tyler, we'll start with you. Who's your season MVP for this women's basketball team? A lot of people to choose from.
First off, I got to say, Carson, that it's just one more thing about Coach Yo. Pretty remarkable that she was at press conferences literally begging for fans to come to games, and then towards the end of the season, they literally would have the stands filled. But 2022-23 MVP for me would have to be senior guard Angel Baker. Averaged 14.8 points per game, a team high, 2.5 assists, and 5.5 rebounds a game.
No, yeah, I totally agree. Angel Baker was definitely a key player for the Rebs this season. My MVP has got to be junior forward Madison Scott. I love the way she played just because not only, she averaged a bunch of points per game, but she was, she led the team with about 8 rebounds per game. She really got the defense going, in my opinion. I think that, this team, they had a lot of good players offensively. People like you said, Angel Baker, Markeisha Davis, Maya Taylor, all of them were really good with points per game, but I liked how Madison was just very powerful when it came to the defensive side.
Definitely, you need someone. You can have a lot of success if you can out-rebound these teams. Madison Scott helped with that a lot. Also a great scorer. She can score at all 3 levels on the floor, and that's also something that's very valuable, and Coach Yo loved that all season for sure. Tyler, next season, we've already talked a little bit about the transfer portal. Just how about a look ahead? Who's staying for us, and who are we going to be looking out for to make a big impact next year and keep this thing rolling?
Thankfully, Campbell's MVP is staying another year, Madison Scott. And honestly, it is kind of hard to pick out an MVP from this group. They couldn't have done it without each other, as cliche as that sounds. But unfortunately, they'll be losing Angel Baker, Jordan Perry, Maya Taylor, who's really close to being another MVP, and Tyus Singleton. So a lot of losses they'll have to make up for in the portal, in the recruiting class, somehow.
Yeah, and like we saw with the baseball team, we lost a lot of guys, but some guys that have slotted in and hit very well and made us very proud so far. So we hope to see a similar situation with that.
Absolutely.
So we've talked a lot about how well this season went and things like that. Campbell, what does that do for your program as a whole? Just with recruiting, the players that are staying, a big wave of momentum, isn't it?
No, yeah, Carson, you're totally right. I've never been so excited to watch women's basketball, and I thought I'd never say that, honestly. I'm a big basketball fan, and like you said earlier, Ole Miss hasn't been a basketball school, and I'm honestly really excited for this. We talked about exciting wins, like over Stanford, obviously, to get us to the Sweet 16, and, Texas A&M in the SEC tournament. And even though we did end up with a loss against South Carolina, that overtime game was insane. And it brought so much attention to our team. And obviously, Coach Yo has been bringing a lot of attention for Rebels and just getting the team going. So I am really excited, and I'm definitely going to be going to a lot of games next season.
Yep, that team had the whole town jumping. Everyone was on board with them and very, very excited to see how they perform. We're excited to see them next year. The season, just around the corner. Summer passes by, and then it's almost time for that again. Going to take a short break. When we come back, going to wrap things up here on Rebel Watch with some talk about some NFL quarterbacks. Got some new contracts, some trades, contract issues. All that stuff is up next.
The dynamic freshman is starting to make his impact.
With the shot clock down to 1.
That 3-ball drops for Jamin Brakefield.
Fagan from the corner with a triple. Burrell for 3, and that's a big response. Miss shooting lights out of the pavilion. Ed, give him one more. Wow. Alley-oop.
No, you can't teach that.
Well, that should give Ole Miss a boost.
Creating a legacy takes time, takes dedication, spirit, and a greater vision. That vision starts here at the University of Mississippi. What will you be remembered by? Your character, your contributions, your friendship. Your legacy will define who we are now and who we are becoming for our state, our students, and our future. Ole Miss, build your legacy.
These are more than just the sounds of a safe place to go after school. These are the sounds of interest being ignited and of mentors making an impact. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we don't do just one thing. We do whatever it takes to meet the needs of every kid who comes through those doors. Because whatever it takes is what it takes to build great futures. Great futures start here.
We are rebels. For more than 160 years, we've been accomplishing the impossible, from conducting the world's first lung transplant to helping prove Einstein was right. From preserving the past to saving the future. We are Mississippi's flagship university, a place where passion and learning unite, where friends become family, where small-town charm meets world-class innovation. We are the University of Mississippi. We are Ole Miss.
And we welcome all of you back to Rebel Watch, winding things down on this edition of the program. I'm Carson Waire, with me, Tyler Komis, Campbell Holmes. Thank you so much for making us a part of your weekend and tuning in. Going to end things here talking about the NFL and some moves regarding some quarterbacks, always a topic of discussion in the offseason. So Derek Carr makes a move. He goes and signs with the New Orleans Saints. And then, of course, Daniel Jones goes to the Giants and says, I'm staying put. I'm riding with you guys. So, Tyler, what's going on with those two moves? What do you think about those?
I'll start off with Derek Carr. Took a while. Thought maybe the Jets were in play for him. Told him he could be a Hall of Fame quarterback with them if he lived up to his potential. But ultimately, that didn't happen. He won't be in that big market. But he's jumping to another one in New Orleans, a team that really needed a quarterback. And honestly, I mean, yeah, they paid $150 million for him, but that's kind of what the market is demanding for a franchise quarterback. It's yet to be seen whether he really can be one for the Saints or not. But weak division, really weak division. So if I'm a New Orleans Saints fan, I would absolutely expect Derek Carr to take you to the playoffs. Now, winning a Super Bowl, that's a different story, but we'll shift gears into my team, the New York Giants. They did retain Daniel Jones after declining his fifth-year option before the year started. Obviously, he cut down on the turnovers, a little more touchdowns, a little more playmaking with the legs. He looked good this year, and he wanted $45 million guaranteed, or $45 million a year per his request, but he ended up bargaining down to $40 million a year. He grew up a Giants fan, so maybe a little hometown discount there. But in my eyes, I mean, yeah, it's a big contract. He's now a top 10 paid guy. A lot of people don't view him as that right now, but the division's not weak either. Like the Eagles twice a year, Cowboys twice a year. It's going to be really hard.
Definitely. But Daniel Jones, as we said, a guy that showed a lot of improvement this year, especially, like you said, with his legs. He was running in the Vikings game in the playoffs, taking off, and that's something that a lot of teams did not game plan for. You saw it especially in the beginning part of the season. He was running for a lot of touchdowns and a lot of running yards because teams didn't game plan for him to just take off out of the pocket or pull a read option out, and that was very, very effective for the Giants. So, Campbell, we kind of talked money for a little bit. What do you make of this current NFL situation with the price of a starting quarterback is, some people say it's too high. A guy like Derek Carr, how does he get $150 million? What do we make of all this?
No, yeah, and for Daniel Jones, like we were talking about, I mean, he had some great stats, and he's one of the only quarterbacks in NFL history, 300 or more passing yards, 2 or more passing touchdowns. 70 or more rushing yards. I mean, if you're going to get a player like that on your team, you're going to have to put some money. And I think that's the hard truth, in my opinion. And so I feel like this is showing teams, if you want to acquire a good player, or if you want to keep your good player, you're going to have to put some money on the table, or else it's not going to happen.
Definitely, and that's something that's becoming the case in all of sports. We saw, to take things away from the NFL and the MLB this offseason, guys like Xander Bogaerts that got huge contracts, got a lot of backlash from people when, the reality is nowadays in sports, you want your guy, you've got to go get your guy, even if that means maybe overpaying a little bit or giving him 2 extra years at the end of the contract that he might not be as effective for you. You've got to go get your guys, that is for sure. Speaking of going and getting your guys, or a guy that maybe wants out of a certain place, Lamar Jackson, a pretty fascinating story going on in this offseason. The whole sports world buzzing right now talking about him, kind of hinging on his every move, requesting a trade the other day. That came out, and that was sent shockwaves through, Twitter especially, and just the NFL discussion realm as a whole. Campbell, what is going on with him? Quite a fascinating situation, isn't it?
Yes, it's very fascinating. I've been keeping up with it. A couple weeks ago, the Baltimore Ravens, they put a non-exclusive tag on Jackson. And basically what this is, Jackson can talk to any teams he wants. He can negotiate, he can conversate, whatever he wants. But Baltimore does have the right to match any offer that a team does. And obviously, we thought, okay, whatever. But, this week they come out that Jackson does have a request trade from the Ravens. Obviously, fans are probably distraught. People are wondering what's going on, what's happening. Teams have already been raving about it. Carolina Panthers, they said, he's a great option. That's awesome. And, so did the Colts. They said, if it happens, it happens. We'll keep an eye on him and it's fine. But there's other teams that have been like, we have our quarterback. We're going to keep our quarterback. And a team like that is the Detroit Lions. So I think it has been keeping a lot of conversations going, especially on Twitter, like you said, Carson. And I think I'm really excited to see how this ends up. And I do hope that, Jackson does find somewhere he wants to be. And, Carson, I know you're a Ravens fan, so I know you're kind of upset about it, but what do you think about
Definitely. It's been a little bit stressful, but, for me personally, and a lot of people don't like to hear this, Lamar Jackson's a durability concern for me. There's just 2 seasons in a row now that at the most important part of the season, we're playing very, very meaningful games in the division. He's not on the field. 2 seasons in a row that's happened, and ultimately it's hurt us. We saw what Tyler Huntley did against the Bengals in Cincinnati. He was, 1 goal line dunk away from winning the game, and obviously the things, didn't fold out that way. But if you have Lamar Jackson playing, who's to say that game couldn't have gone a little bit differently and we could have come out on top. Lamar Jackson, for me, is a fantastic player. He is well-loved in the city. Everyone loves the fact that he's the quarterback of the Ravens, but he's a durability concern. And for a guy that wants $250, all guaranteed, I know how the Ravens operate. They're not a franchise quarterback type of team, and they're definitely not the type of team to give $250 million to a guy. They can't even stay on the field in the most important part of the season. So that's something that is, definitely ticking people off around Baltimore, but at the end of the day, that is the truth. One thing about Lamar, Tyler, he doesn't have an agent. His agent is his mother. So he is allowed to talk to other teams, but it's a little bit hard for him to do that when he doesn't have an agent, right?
It's definitely hard, but it's not impossible to get something done, something where he even feels like he's getting his worth, because former Ole Miss Rebel Laramie Tunsil, he didn't have an agent, and now he's reset the tackle market for the 2nd straight time with a $75 million extension. Yes, it's challenging, and maybe that is holding everyone back as far as talks. And like you said, I kind of agree with you. The best ability is availability, and if you can't get that in key division moments against even playoffs like the Bengals game, then I'm not sure that the Ravens feel like they're going to be getting what they're paying for.
Definitely. And we'll wrap things up with this. Aaron Rodgers, also a pretty interesting story going on this offseason. Tyler, what do you make of the whole situation? Rumors of the Jets and people sort of beginning to question, well, wait a minute. Is this the same, elite MVP winning quarterback, or is this guy kind of falling off a little bit?
I think talks have kind of stalled between the Jets and Packers. Everybody's expecting it. It's in everybody's number 1 offseason move. How could it not be? It's Aaron Rodgers, right? Well, from the Jets' perspective, they're getting a 39-year-old quarterback. I mean, how many quarterbacks are really worth what the Packers are asking for at that age? And they looked at the market past few years. Quarterbacks like Matthew Stafford have gone for plethora of picks, first rounds, and that's what the Packers are kind of looking at. What did other teams get for their franchise quarterback? And if they're asking for a first-round pick, I mean, these talks could go on for a while, and And Rodgers, as it is, I think he plays a big role in holding everyone back as well, because you never know how committed he's going to be. How is he going to develop new chemistry with his new teammates, new receivers, whether he returns to the Packers somehow with those new guys or goes to the Jets. You got to be there in the offseason to develop that chemistry and timing.
Definitely not something that can just come about. And we were talking about this over the break. You know, there were some questions about, okay, yeah, does Rodgers really have a winning team around him? Not as well equipped as he was in past years to do very well, but some mistakes were definitely, made by him. We talked about the Lions game. He threw 2 picks in the red zone that were just bad reads on him. So although he is a fantastic player overall, there were some things last year, it all can't just be blamed on his teammates. There were some things that happened that were definitely his fault. And we thank you so much for tuning in. We will end on that. For Tyler Komis, NewsWatch sports reporter, Campbell Holmes, NewsWatch sports anchor, I'm Carson Waire. Cheer on the Rebels this weekend, the softball team, as they battle Auburn. Wish them luck. And we thank you so much for making us a part of your weekend and tuning in. We will see you next Friday at 5.